Welcome back to New Day, and as I mentioned earlier, we have the Member of Parliament for Ibuako South, also lead counsel for the 3 ex-soldiers, ex-police officers who I'm sure, as you're aware now, have been deported. So what does that leave? Where does that leave us? What happens to the 2 who have also been granted bail? Lawyer Attah is here with us. Good morning to you and welcome to the show. Right. Have you had the opportunity to speak to your clients? I mean, after they've been deported, have you had the opportunity to speak to them?
No, I've not had any word with them. But before I proceed, I crave indulgence to wish Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo a belated happy birthday. I pray to God that He should give him health, and that all those who wish him ill will be disappointed, and that what he has for Ghana, he will come and execute it.
All right, then. So your clients now.
It's sad that we didn't even have the opportunity to talk to them after the Thursday embarrassment in which a court of competent jurisdiction admitted them to bail, but the BNI, riding roughshod over their rights, I mean, rubbished the whole process until we heard yesterday that they have been deported. So this is where we are, and we are yet to have a telephone conversation with them and the rest of it.
Okay, so for the purposes of clarity, you're saying that at no point were you informed that they will be deported?
At all. We were never informed. In fact, we wanted to link up with the big people as to whether we can even visit them and Easter festivities, whether we can even give them something good to eat and the rest of it. We failed. We couldn't get them. Their phones were shut. And this is how come we were very, very anxious to know their well-being and where they were being kept. But eventually they were deported.
Okay, but do you intend to follow up on it in terms of your communication with them? Because I mean, for you, I know you've said that it doesn't end for you.
No, we need to do that, and also try to elicit information as to what transpired when they left the court premises and wherever they kept them. So in good time we're able to communicate with them, and we'll see how it plays out. But essentially, I am of the humble view that what happened to them and in the image of this country is not good at all. Okay. Because for the first time we are being given away that in Ghana the rule of law doesn't matter. Because how can a court of competent jurisdiction admit some people to bail and the whole process is rubbished by the BNI and the people are kept in cells? And what is sad is the anticlimax, which is that we are telling the whole of the world that in Ghana, if you should arrest people who have the intention of subverting the constitutional order, you can't just let them go.
But deportation is also another form of punishment. Because if you revoke their visas, you ban them, that's also another form.
But no civilized world will do that when they have been arraigned before a court of law. People come in to train, excuse me to say, if you want to use what's it called, Kofi Adams' phrase, that these are mercenaries trying to train terrorists, potential terrorists. How do you let them go? So I've had the understanding that there's a whole propaganda that the BNI fed the NDC so that the heightened tension in the realm to distract us from the kind of problems we are going through as a nation. Because it's a needless tension that we went through. What for? You let off, excuse me to say, criminals? It doesn't accord with common sense.
But you were defending the criminals, quote.
Yes, why not? They have the right to counsel. Even the one who killed JB, he has the right to counsel. That's the essence of what we call the rule of law. That a man should not go about naked in terms of counsel, and then the charges are preferred, they go through the trial, and the judge determines it.
Okay, all right. I just want to read just a paragraph of the Ministry of Interior's statement, and then that would take me to it says that Kojani and Naidu were invited by Daniel Macaulay, chairman, Magdan Group of Companies, while Aziz was invited director of Dankwa Institute, effort to those two.
We leave it to the devices of the BNI as to how they want to deal with them, because we cannot second guess what they want to do. In the first place, they wanted to bring Akea and Koda as conspirators with the South Africans. At the very last minute, I was an eyewitness to that. They dropped these two and took the 3 who have been deported. So if they think they have concrete evidence, against them, and they might want to prosecute them for what has happened, it will be a bit of a funny joke, because if 3 conspirators have been allowed to go, how do you tie the whole knot of conspiracy. Because the conspiracy should be with them. But he said, no, I mean, they should go back to their country. So we don't know what they want.
Have they preferred any
Not yet.
Against the two?
They did initially, as I told you, on Thursday. But unfortunately, I mean, they didn't bring them to court. And they kept Koda behind bars for over 95 hours or so. So we leave them to their own devices.
Okay. I'm asking that because if they have deported the three, and I know that you cannot cross-examine, witnesses who cannot be produced in the courts, then what happens then? Well,
I don't want to predict doom for the BNI and probably Attorney General, but as a lawyer, we always want to say that if you have the evidence, you succeed in court. If you don't have the evidence, then resort to propaganda, a kind of, lies dressed in truth, in the gaps of truth. Eventually, it fizzles out. And this is what has happened. It's fizzled out.
Did you at any point in time contact the immigration service? Have they spoken to the issue?
They never called us. I was questioning that if the immigration service wanted to interrogate the South Africans, did they inform them that they have the right to counsel? They never did that. So all of a sudden, if indeed they interrogated them, they were dealing with people who didn't have a sense of the law, and they became judges in their own right and pronounced them guilty and deported them. That's what they did. What
next for you then?
Well, we believe...
Or you wait, right now you're just waiting on what action the BNI will take, or what's the next action?
In relation to Koda and Akea, will be our time. And this gentleman called Attah,
sure.
Attah also has said clearly that he never invited them. So that is an issue between himself and the Minister of Interior.
Okay.
But right now, what is uppermost in our minds is to deal with the issue of contempt.
Okay.
What is contempt? If you show gross disrespect to the integrity of the court and administration of justice, you are in contempt. And it is so clear that it's a blatant and disrespectful act on the part of the BNI officials in whisking them away, the three South Africans away, when the judge has pronounced that, leave them to the registrar of the court, let them go through the bail process. They didn't do that. We believe that we should hallow the name of the court. If not, the Ghana has a very bad name, that the rule of law doesn't matter. It can be ravished by security apparatus of state.
Okay. The reasons that have been given, they are not sound, that because they held them because the immigration service also had their issues. So it was a subset of the main issue. That doesn't make sense.
It's a joke. You see, because at the end of the day, how can you hold people that the court has freed? Are you another court? Are you like an appeal court that a lower court has given the decision and you've overruled it? It doesn't make sense. Because even if they were having their freedom, they could still be invited by immigration. That is the essence of bail. Bail doesn't mean that that's the end of the case. A man is in bail, which is a limited freedom, because he can called upon to report to those who are initiating the prosecution. So they are on bail. They have surrendered their passports to the registrar of the court, and they can still be invited by whoever that want to interrogate you on this issue. Can you come at 8 o'clock? And they will show up. And if there are further interrogation to be done. But to say that we are holding them for another state institution is to say that what the court did is rubbish. We won't pay any respect to that.
Okay. Specifically, who are you going to sue? For the contempt?
The head of the institution. Who has a command over the two other gentlemen who did what they did. And this is a very, very test case that we lawyers, we are very aggrieved that we should press the contempt charges against them and see how the court will hallow his name or say that, well, it doesn't matter to us. We leave it to them.
When are you thinking?
Most probably tomorrow, because we were trying to fetch the court documents yesterday and we were not successful. We got only the certified copy of the charge sheet. And the court proceedings were not ready because the judge has to peruse what she wrote in her hand, and then that will be typed and certified for us. So this is what we are waiting for. I'm tempted to believe by the end of the day we should have it, and then we put it together and file it.
Okay. And as a member of the NPP as well, I want to know from you, what happens to the training then? Because your party kept saying that it's important, it's crucial that so what happens? Are you going to engage others, or you're going to go through the right process and get it done?
Well, I don't think they went through the wrong process, because at the end of the day, they were training civilians on how to handle VIPs. And Madam, I don't want to go beyond this.
Okay.
You see, no hand grenade was found, no AK-47 was found, there was no, what's it called, nothing of military significance was found. So therefore, if this is not something palatable to the powers that be, we'll find other means to make sure that Nana Akufo-Addo's personal security is not naked. We'll protect him. We'll make sure that when people are very bold and audacious to don military fatigues and go to the party headquarters and invade there, then my dear, if you say you want to be president but you are not careful and sensitive about your personal safety, then you are not sensible enough to be president. So we will do what is right, but we will not do anything to heighten tension in the realm, unnecessary tension. But we are not going to cave in because they are being intimidated by the powers that be.
What were they able to do?
Which people?
The 3 ex-police officers who were here to train.
Yes.
The crowd control.
Yes, they started the training.
What were they able to
do? They started the training, trying to let them know what it is and psyching them as to what is necessary. Then the rest of it, is it possible for you to disarm somebody who is trying to use a weapon against a VIP? So these are toy arrangements, you know, karate and those kinds of things. They were not doing anything to subvert our constitutional order, and that is clear. And they were not nocturnal activities. They were done in the open.
Okay.
Yes.
But why were they taken out of Accra?
Because that is what is necessary in terms of the peace and sometimes space. If you want the necessary space, outside Accra, there's a lot of space there. But let me tell you that nobody should put a hype on it that by reason of the fact that they were taken out outside Accra, they were trying to hide anything. Because there's a police station where they were found. They were not in the bush. For you to say that these people are hell-bent in clandestine activities and therefore they were in the bush. They were not in the bush. It was open. That's how come they were found. They were not hiding anywhere.
Okay, all right. But as a lawyer, but what's your personal interest in all of this? As a lawyer,
the rule of law, the civility of the nation should be paramount. Because at the end of the day, let me tell you that when it is said that in Ghana, the rule of law is not respected, it doesn't even augur well for investor friendliness. We should know that by now. And I was of the view that the Interior Minister should have condemned the behavior of the BNI, but he was silent on it, as if he's saying that it's all right, so far as I'm concerned. I was expecting him to say that, well, the government does not approve this kinds of behavior when a court's order is undermined. Okay. But he was silent on that.
Okay, all right. It was also clear that they had been here before in 2012.
Yes.
And was it for a similar thing?
I'm tempted to believe it was for some of these security arrangements. I don't know whether they train people or they were even involved in monitoring activities concerning Akufo-Addo. Because sometimes you might train or you might monitor, whichever is convenient. And that also tells you that these are not mercenaries. They enter and exit freely like that.
But Mr. Attah, you are their counsel, and as a counsel, you're supposed to know these things. You said in 2012 because it was stated in the statement by the Interior Ministry that they had been here before.
Yes.
Right. But you're saying you're not sure whether they were here for a similar thing.
Well, because I was very much concerned about these present arrangements because I never knew that they were going to rake their past against them. Okay. You see, and also one of the things that I have to tell you, and it's true, that the interrogation was in the presence of Lawyer Usufojo. Okay. And sometimes the liberty of the guy when he's BNI. With the police, you can have some leeway to really sit with them one-on-one and grill them to elicit information. But sometimes the BNI won't leave the lawyer to do his own, excuse me to say, private and confidential exchanges with the client.
Attorney.
Yes, and that is not good enough. Okay. So they need to be weaned of this kind of, excuse me to say, arbitrariness and obnoxious behaviors in security matters. It's not good for our image.
But if they were training, it means they were working.
They were not working. You see, let me tell you, that means you're talking about remuneration. These people came to help them.
So they were not going to be paid by the NPP?
They were not going to be paid. That's the point of the matter. They had not put any price on what they were doing. So why should anybody imagine, even remotely, that these are...
So you fly them here, pay their plane tickets, or they pay their own plane tickets. Okay, so who covered their cost?
I'm not able to divulge that because, with all respect, I don't have the full information as to the cost of their coming. But what I know is that this was for free. And a lot of things that happen for free when they know that there's a good man to protect his interest.
All right. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Lawyer Attah, lead counsel for, now...
one of them. I would say one of them.
All right, one of the lawyers for the ex-police officers from South Africa who are here, according to the MP, to provide VVIP training for Nana Akufo-Addo and his vice presidential candidate, yes. Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, also member of parliament and their spouses, and also member of parliament for Ibuakwa South.